Hey, pro organizers, it's Melissa. And this podcast I am very passionate about. Okay. I just want to tell you before you get started listening that if you hear me talking really fast or really getting into it, it is because this topic is so super important and I really want people to latch onto it. This is just my pre-show warning that I'm going to beg you to please work on the stuff that I'm talking about in this episode. Obviously, if you have listened to this podcast for 5 seconds, and a lot of you are in my Inspired Organizer program, which hello to all of my IOers. So happy to always see you guys and be a part of your organizing business. But if you are just even a casual listener, you will know that I am crazy passionate about making sure that clients can find you. And most people think that is through social media. It's just not. And social media is getting just so complex and so flooded that the best way to have clients find you is for them to find you on the internet. I've shouted this from the rooftops since I started here 6 years ago, and I'm going to keep preaching about it because it's even more critical now because more people are starting to turn almost exclusively to AI agents to do their searching for them. And so your findability on the internet, your SEO, your GEO, all of those things are getting more and more critical to making sure that you have clients that connect with you. Increasingly, the way to do that is by being incredibly specific about what you do and how you do it. And I want to talk about 3 categories of potential clients that I want to encourage you to be thinking about how you're reaching out to them, how you're talking to them, and really just focusing very specifically on some language on your website that talks directly to these people. This is going to help you, 1, find great clients, 2, get more people to hop on your website and see what you're doing, and 3, hire you for these services because they know that you are the person that can help them the best. Here's what I want to tell you before I get started. The 3 categories of women that I'm going to be talking about, by the way, some women, probably the best potential clients that you could find, might tick all 3 of these boxes, okay? These 3 categories of women are going to be people who are much, much more likely than others to be seeking out services. And a lot of times these women are turning to AI agents to do that, okay? Most organizer websites have some version of, I help you declutter and organize your home. It's generic copy that kind of is blanketed to everyone. And obviously there are parts of SEO optimization where you do need to be very clear about what you do and how you do it. We do declutter and organize people's homes, but I want you to start thinking about how you can be much more specific in that language so that if ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude, any of those are searching for you, the AI agent is going to know the person that they are dealing with, and they are going to seek out services based on what that person is dealing with in their life. Here are the 3 niches or categories. I actually hate the word niche. It's a personal thing. But these 3 categories are as follows. 1, the first one, you are going to be unsurprised when I say this. It is women with ADHD, and I will just add a little bit of a further category, women who are dealing with neurodivergence of potentially multiple kinds in their homes. There is a huge rise in women in adulthood being diagnosed with ADHD. I happen to be one of them. I found out that I've had raging ADHD for years. This is not a surprise to anyone who's ever dealt with me personally, but it was a little bit of a surprise to me. So there you go. But knowing how to serve them, knowing how to work with these women and talk to them, incredibly important. The second category of women is people who are on GLP-1 medications. Why is this important? Because those women are in large part losing weight at sometimes a decently rapid clip. And their wardrobes are changing, their feelings about their bodies are changing, their attitudes toward a lot of things might be changing, and talking to those women and figuring out how to serve them, really important. By the way, if you think that you don't know anyone on a GLP-1, I promise you do. It's probably a good chunk of your friends, but maybe people aren't talking about it yet, and that's okay. But I want you to talk about it on your website so that these women know that you are out there and ready to help them. The third category of women is, I'm probably speaking to a lot of people who are listening to this podcast, women who are in perimenopause or menopause. I did a podcast with my friend Kim about perimenopause. I will link it in the show notes. It was sometime last year, if I remember correctly, but ADHD, I forget when I did stuff. There are tens of millions of women in the United States who are in some version of perimenopause or menopause. Perimenopause, as we know, can stretch starting from your mid-30s to your mid-50s. Just very much depends on each individual woman. And we are talking a lot more about perimenopause and menopause. I want you to be thinking about these big categories of people that we're starting to talk about it more. We're starting to really be open about some of these diagnoses that we have, whether it's ADHD, whether you're telling the whole world you're in perimenopause, whatever that looks like, telling people that you're on GLP-1. These are women who need organizers. And in a lot of cases, they have the disposable income to make that happen. Before I jump into the categories, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about specifics about why you should be focusing on these three groups of people. I'm also going to give you specifics about what to talk about on your website, how to talk about it, and how to craft this information so that AI can find you, so that more of these people can find you. So let's dive in with our first category. Women with ADHD. A lot of these women have households where neurodivergence is happening, whether that is ADHD in their kids, whether it might be some other neurodivergent diagnosis. Diagnosis rates among women who are in a category that they can afford and want organizing services is climbing fast. Social media has driven a tremendous amount of self-recognition of ADHD. Oh, wait, I didn't know that was a symptom of ADHD. That's kind of how I first started to think about it and know about it, was seeing things on social media. And the stigma around telling people about this diagnosis, telling them that you are medicated and asking for help is way down. Here is what I want to say to the number of women, which is probably a very large number of people that are listening to this podcast right now, who maybe you're the kind of person that was drawn to being an organizer because you yourself have been very organized your whole life, and you might fall into the category of people who are type A, very organized, structured, logical about your thinking and how you go about everything in your life. I want you to educate yourself about what an ADHD brain is, how it operates. I want you to be able to knowledgeably speak about this to people because it is going to make you a much better organizer. At this point, I would assume that most of the people contacting you probably have some sort of form of ADHD. Most of them are going to tell you about it. If they don't tell you about it, you're probably going to find out during your work with them. There's a book by Susan Pinsky that I have recommended many times that's called Organizing for People with ADHD. I'm sure there are tons of other books. That's the one that I always come back to. It's just such a good book. If you are, again, one of those women who you have never struggled with this is not something you understand, I want you to work on it, on understanding, so that you can talk to people and understand the key words that they might be using. A lot of them are going to be talking about executive function. A lot of them are going to be talking about decision fatigue. By the way, you don't have to have ADHD to have decision fatigue. I think that women today in general, especially if they are running households and have families and jobs and all sorts of other things, that decision fatigue can really just come from life. As I've said a lot recently, life is lifing, and you are going to hear those things. And so I want you, when you hear them, to know what that means. Some of the pain points that you are going to hear from these people is that they have shame. They often try things. They try to get organized. They try to figure out systems for themselves, but they are probably going to have a lot of failed systems. They probably have a ton of bins in their house that they bought on many occasions, and they have possibly been told that they're just lazy or messy. A lot of these women are going to need visible or very out in the open storage. So out of sight, out of mind is not something that is often going to work for people with ADHD. They need to be very clear about where things are, what the system is, how the system operates, and the system needs to be easy to understand and maintain. Maintain is the key word here. when you start thinking about serving this population of women, I want you to think about how you can create easy to maintain systems, because otherwise the system is going to fall apart. There is a concept called body doubling that I also want you to know about. And this is what I told people long before I knew that it had an actual name. A lot of times my clients would come to me and be like, why is it that I can do this when you're standing here with me, but I can't do it if you are gone? Like, for instance, clients that never do homework, those type of people that they really need the organizer right there with them. Otherwise, they can't do it. And I said, oh, it's just because I provide some accountability. I'm here. We know we have a session that is a certain length of time, and we have to work during that time. And you can't just decide, I'm going to go get a snack and go watch Netflix. It's really that accountability. Body doubling is actually even more cool than that. I have done body doubling in our Inspired Organizer program, where we just get on a Zoom and we co-work, basically. So it's a way that you're like, hey, I'm working. We're not talking. We're not working on the same things. We're not collaborating. It's just that, hey, other people are working and I'm going to work too. There's a rise now in what people are calling admin nights. They will create a meeting where you all meet at a bar or a restaurant, and you bring all the tasks that you have neglected. So whether that's doing your emails, cleaning things up, whatever that looks like, they have these admin nights because that is a form of body doubling. Everybody else is doing it. Therefore, I have a little bit of pressure / accountability to go get it done too. So often with someone, organizing is really just providing body doubling services. And that is often the most helpful thing you can do for someone with ADHD. If you yourself are not in the category of organizer who is type A, if you have any sort of ADHD or other neurodivergence, I want you to talk about that. If you are a type B organizer with ADHD yourself, or if you have a family member with ADHD, if you have someone in your life that you have helped with ADHD, I want you to talk about that nonstop, okay? That provides you some extra kind of credibility. I know I've experienced a lot of times with my clients that they really react to my own story of being a very messy person. And that gives me some credibility in terms of, hey, I can help you because I helped myself. But you also do not need to have credentials. You do not need to have training. You do not need any of those things to still work with and talk about these people. What I do want you to do is speak the language. So really understanding words like task paralysis, decision fatigue, executive function. I love the phrase floor drobe, where your clothes go on a floor instead of in your closet. I want you to learn those words so that you can speak the language of the ADHD brain and the ADHD client. Here is the practical thing that I want you to do as you are saying, these are the services that we provide to help people with ADHD get organized. I want you to have a dedicated page where you talk about this. So it is not just buried somewhere on your services page. It's not on your about page. I want you to have very specific web pages devoted to talking about organizing for an ADHD client. You can call it ADHD organizing, organizing for ADHD brains. Whatever that looks like for you, totally fine. But I want you to be talking about it. People are asking AI tools and Google for professional organizer for ADHD adults, professional organizer who works with people with ADHD. I want you to really focus on those keywords so that those people can find you. Another SEO tip I'll give you is FAQ pages actually provide a tremendous SEO boost. So if you even create an FAQ page that has something in there about, hey, do you work with clients with ADHD? How do you work with clients with ADHD? What do you know about ADHD? You can put some of your kind of bona fides in there and talk about what you know, how you work with them, and use those key phrases like, are you destroyed by task paralysis and decision fatigue? Do you struggle with executive function? But the reason an FAQ page works is because AI search engine results are looking for content that is structured as a very clear question and answer. That is something that's helpful. The other thing you can do is if you do work with ADHD clients a lot and you ask people for reviews, which is a very good practice for your Google business profile, please ask those clients to specifically talk about, hey, could you do a little blurb about how I helped you with your ADHD, how our organizing has helped your ADHD brain, any of those kinds of things. That is a great thing to do as well. The other thing that you can start thinking about is really networking for this or showing up where people with ADHD are going to be hanging out. There are ADHD Facebook groups, there are subreddits, you could talk about this. This is a great thing to say as a pitch for a news program, daytime talk shows in your area, radio shows. Yes, radio shows. I said it. People still listen to the radio. Other podcasts, anything like that. Think about focusing and really developing a niche on this subject. It is going to be really great for your business. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about how you talk about this. So the first thing is going to be pages on your website. The second thing is going to be writing blogs about it. I want you to be writing minimum 1 blog a month. I'd love for you to do more. But I want you to start writing blogs about specific things regarding ADHD organizing. If you need ideas, AI is there to help you, give you thought starters. It's not there to write the whole article for you because that's not great for SEO either. But I want you to start putting this content on your website and really focusing on these clients. If you have a team that you're dealing with, which many people now do, your team also needs to be educated on how to work with clients with ADHD. If you have leads that are going out on jobs, if you yourself are not on any job, the person doing the consult needs to be educated in this, and they're the ones who are going to sell, really. And then the person who is actually doing the work needs to be educated too, so that they can put systems in place to help women with ADHD. Okay, I think I have made my point. Hopefully everyone's still listening because I still have 2 categories of women that I want to talk about that I want you to focus on, okay? The second one is women who are on GLP-1s. And this one might be, of all the 3 of the groups, this might be the one that is the hardest to talk about. This is the one that you might want to just put a little bit of caution around how you say it, because we actually do not in any way want to alienate a potential category of women. But again, there is a huge rise in the number of people who are taking GLP-1 medications. So whether those are the name brand ones, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, all of those drugs are starting to get a lot more common and a lot of people are on them. As of right now, about 23% of US households have someone in the house on a GLP-1. Okay, that's a lot. And it might be multiple people in a house. And then depending on the estimates you read, between 60 and 70% of those people are women. Obviously, generally, professional organizers tend to serve women more than they serve men. So this is a category that is absolutely ripe to be talked about, talked to, and marketed to. And part of the reason for this is that in a lot of cases, these women are experiencing success in weight loss that they maybe have struggled with their whole life. And it's success that they are not sometimes used to. And as a result, they are losing weight at sometimes a fairly significant pace. And that causes closet changes. And there are often frequent closet changes. And there's also some psychology behind it too. You guys know I am very into the psychology of organizing. I love getting deep in the feelings about organizing and all that. But obviously, for a lot of women, body positivity and feeling good about themselves and all of that is very tied into weight. And with so many people on them now, really being able to speak to them and saying, hey, are you on a GLP-1 journey? And are you someone who needs some help figuring out your wardrobe, figuring out your body? I think it's a really great thing to talk to people about. This is also something that is not going away. It is rising rapidly. So if you are on the early cusp of talking to this audience and helping them understand that professional organizers are there ready to help them as part of their journey, really important. The service angles that I want you to think about here are it's not just, hey, let's clean out your closet. Because in a lot of cases, people are losing a lot of weight, and this might be a year or 2 year long journey for them. Okay. This is obviously, these medicines are not typically for people who just have a few pounds to lose. These are people who might be on a fairly long journey to where they feel best. And so this is not talking about a one-time closet clean out. This is really talking about creating a transitional wardrobe system. When you think about it, almost all of us know the people that have a lot of clothing that they have kept just in case, a lot of different sizes in their closet, all of those things, and saying, hey, we want to give you a comprehensive system as you go on this journey for the clothes that you want at different sizes, or really saying goodbye to things that you know you are not going to need anymore. There's a lot of psychology around that. So just be very sensitive, kind, and understand that it might be a vulnerable situation that these women are in. But again, you're looking to develop a transitional wardrobe system where you're talking about doing different sizing check-ins, having a donation or a consignment pipeline for clothing that no longer fits, and then a good plan for the in-between months. There are some women that are going to be probably buying new wardrobes, possibly several times. Lots of different options there. There are some referral partnerships that might be a sensible plan here too for you. So stylists, consignment shops, donation locations. There may be some people that are interested in partnering with you to talk about women on a GLP-1 journey and how you can collaborate to help those women. I have a very good friend who is a stylist. She has been on this podcast several times, Jen Mary, and she runs a business called Everyday Style. If there are local stylists in your area or a stylist that you connect with on Instagram, if they have a podcast, doing a co-episode together about how you organize when you are on a GLP-1 journey, there are a billion ideas. Just start to think about how you can talk to this group. One sensitivity note that I want to give you, this is similar actually to what we talked about with ADHD. If you are not someone that has ever struggled with weight or body image or anything like that, it may be very hard for you to understand what it is like. I am a person who has always struggled. I'm pretty open about that. I've always had a struggle with my weight and body image. And so if you are someone who has not had those struggles, please understand that using really kind, sensitive language is going to be important here. By the way, if you have personal feelings about these medicines, keep them to yourself. That's what I'm going to tell you. So I want you to keep those opinions to yourself because it is not going to help the person that you are trying to help. But really thinking about language that is not about body shaming, language that does not talk about self-worth as it relates to weight, all of that kind of stuff is really important. We really want to talk about it as you have a body that's in transition. This is not a before and after thing. It's just think about some of that sensitivity, especially if you have not had this struggle in your life also. Here is a key note too. This is a safety focus. Because more and more people are on these medicines, I just want to give a little shout out because I know this happened to an organizer that I know where one of her team members was stuck by a needle. And obviously, any sort of needle stick, it doesn't matter whether it's for insulin, a GLP-1, or something else, any sort of needle stick is a very serious potential safety hazard because of bloodborne illnesses and all sorts of other things. This organizer had to have her team member go get tested to make sure that she didn't have any sort of communicable diseases, that type of thing. Cost her a lot of money and cost the team member a lot of stress while she was waiting for those test results. So this is just a safety corner for you to talk to your team about just understanding that a lot more of these drugs are available and there are sometimes a lot of needles and other things that you want to be careful with. So just that's just your random side note about GLP-1s. All right. On your website, what I want you to talk about is I want you to have a separate page if you're interested in focusing on this niche. I want you to have a separate page about whether it's wardrobe organizing during weight loss, closet organizing on your GLP-1 journey, everything that you can think of. And these are, again, great ideas for blog posts, how you phrase it in different ways so that the internet can pick it up. If you're particularly energized by this idea, if you yourself are taking a GLP-1 and you want to talk about your personal experience and how it relates to organizing, whatever your level of comfort is there, I think that's really good. So when we talk about searching, how this impacts SEO and AI search, this is a newer phrase. It's a newer concept. And really being specific and talking about specific drug names. Hey, are you on Wegovy or Zepbound or tirzepatide or Ozempic, semaglutide, any of those words? You can actually use those words because people might be looking for very specific terms. I want you to think about what your services might be related to this. Is it something where you say, hey, every 3 months we'll come in and do a closet refresh? Structure your page as different phases of their GLP-1 journey. So before, during, and after, or as your size changes, as your body changes. AI search tools are really looking for structured, easy to extract content. So things that they can really understand exactly what you're saying. This is not a time to be really vague in your language. It's a time to be very specific. If you have an FAQ, talk about this on your FAQ. Do you help people who are on a GLP-1 drug redo their closets or other parts of their house? Yes, absolutely. The other thing that you can do if you have a client, some people are very open about taking these medicines and they're happy to talk about it. This is another great instance that you could do maybe a client interview for your blog, or you can have them write a review. Lots of great things you can do here. All right, the last one, perimenopause and menopause. Again, did a whole podcast on this. And if you are in this category, hi, welcome. My name is Melissa. I'm also in perimenopause. And perimenopause brings so many changes. I was talking to a friend the other day about how when we were growing up, this was never discussed. It was very hush-hush. Women didn't discuss it with each other. Now, because of the rise also in HRT, hormone replacement therapy, the rise in services like MIDI Health and other online women's health portals, the rise in OBGYNs talking about it, all of that. Perimenopause and menopause is a topic that is out in the world, and I think we are all better off. But a lot of the hallmarks of being in perimenopause and menopause there are a tremendous amount of body changes. Regardless of our conversation about GLP-1s, people in perimenopause and menopause tend to have a lot of body distribution changes. So even if someone has been a normal weight their whole life and have not struggled, they tend to have a change in their weight that they sometimes feel very uncomfortable with. Temperature regulation is another thing. Like, obviously, if you are someone that suffers from a lot of hot flashes, thankfully, that has not been my experience. I have not had really bad ones, but I have some friends that have had horrible hot flashes. That's a concept to think about in terms of organizing, is how do you figure out some of those things in your closet? And there are a tremendous amount of brain changes, okay? A lot of women in perimenopause will talk about brain fog. They just don't feel as sharp as they used to be. And that brain fog can actually impact all the other things we're talking about too. If you already have ADHD, that brain fog is going to feel even more exacerbated, okay? So there are a lot of body changes. This is another one. Get educated if you're not. By the way, a lot of organizers are probably in this category, and you may not even realize you're in perimenopause. There are some really wonderful resources out there. The one that I recommend to people mostly is Dr. Mary Claire Haver. She's an OBGYN and a content creator who has really made it her niche to talk about perimenopause and menopause. She has 2 really great books out there. I highly suggest you read them. When we're talking about perimenopause and menopause, you are talking about a few different things in terms of organizing, okay? Perimenopause brain fog is really a version of the executive function that we were talking about with ADHD. You can talk about, hey, are you having a hard time remembering where things are? We're going to create really good systems for you. We're talking about closets that maybe don't fit for a changing body. You might have people who are like, I'm in my 50s. I don't care anymore about that. I don't want the stuff. I don't want the clutter. These are women in a lot of cases who maybe their kids are starting to leave, they're empty nesters, or they're really focusing on a different portion of their life, moving on to a different kind of part of their life. And so household stuff may feel like they want to unburden themselves from that. The feeling too with these women of your body and kind of your brain and your house and your needs for your house all changing at the same time can feel incredibly overwhelming. And really messaging to those women and making them know that with you, they will be seen, heard, appreciated, and loved. Crazy important. This is a place too where if you're comfortable talking about it, like I'm very comfortable talking about where I am on my own perimenopause kind of timeline, talk about it on your website. Be like, hey girl, I'm in this too. I totally understand. Here are some of the things that I've felt, and I'm ready to help you organize based on how you're feeling right now. Talk about your personal experience or the experience of your clients. A lot of the language that we talk about with ADHD can still be used with perimenopause as well. So brain fog, executive function, why can't I keep up my house anymore, all that kind of stuff. This is a category where you might not be specifically saying, hey, I organize for women with perimenopause, but you're really organizing for the changes that come during perimenopause. This is another place too that you can do FAQs. How do I reorganize my closet after menopause weight changes? How do I organize my closet for a hot flash? Why does my house feel like it's falling apart? Any of those kind of things. This audience is also going to be very sleep disrupted. So that's one of the major hallmarks of perimenopause. They might be searching for things at very odd hours because of sleep disruption and just anxiety, all those kinds of things. Literally, you could even say, are you awake in the middle of the night looking for an organizer because your perimenopause brain won't shut off, or because you woke up with night sweats, whatever, lots of things that you can say. Okay, so this is what applies to all three of these niches. I want you to give every single niche that you are wanting to focus on, whether it's all three of these, whether it's only one of them, whether you're like, Melissa, you are not speaking to me, I'm talking about something else entirely. Cool. Whatever works for you. But I want you to give each niche its own page. This is not a one-page services thing where you have 25 things buried on the page. I want you to devote an entire web page to each of these different subspecialties or niches that you want to occupy. Google and AI searches are very good at rewarding specificity. We no longer have the room to be generic. We need to be specific. So please give it attention on every page, not just a wide variety of, we organize with women with blah, 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 blah. Nope, specific. I want you to structure the page in a way where you have a very plain language introduction about the niche that you're talking about. So you could have a bulleted thing that says, signs this could be you, 3 to 5 things that help them go, yep, that's me. How I can help you if you feel this way, something like that. You can do an FAQ block, whether that's on a big FAQ page or specifically on the niche page. And then if you have a chance to get a client story or a testimonial, even better. That makes it golden. If you have the ability to ask your clients, if you feel comfortable asking your clients with some of these, in some of these categories, if they're willing to give you a review that really talks about your services based on what a woman might be going through, that's amazing. And think about showing up online where these people might be. I said earlier, look for podcasts, look for radio shows, look for television shows, look for places on the internet where people who have these things that they're talking about all reside. And you can really focus on doing a little bit of networking that way too. There are a tremendous number of women who are probably crossing all three of these categories at the same time. A lot of women are on GLP-1s to deal with some of their menopause weight gain. A lot of women are getting diagnosed with ADHD because they started to get brain fog and they're like, what's going on? And they figured out that they have other things. Those are called comorbidities. You may have multiple things that you're dealing with a potential client. Just a reminder that you can also have a page that really talks about, hey, if you're struggling with all of these issues as we age, we are an aging population. You could talk about all three of those on a page too. So lots of options available to you. If you develop a really specific specialty in one of these, you can also start charging for that. So you could start creating packages for people, especially when you think about an ADHD brain, really focusing on marketing a package to them about, for instance, monthly maintenance, weekly maintenance in some cases. And if you really develop a specialty around this, you can also do seminars based on it. You can talk about how to organize for the ADHD brain, do sessions, seminars, any of that good stuff. Just a billion ideas out there for you. Okay, so I have really talked this one to death, but in the year 2026, we have got to be really specific about the services that we're offering and really talking to the people who are searching for our services. The time is over where we're talking generically. We need to be really out there and telling people exactly what we do and how we do it. So go fix your website, go add some service pages, and I am ready to see you go thrive as you have a better SEO experience to help these wonderful women find you. All right, that's it for today. I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I'll be back soon with more at the Pro Organizer Studio podcast. Have a great day, everyone.